Part 13, when a woman stalks a man, legal system, mental illness, spirit children, and hoodoo. So in September, she violated the court order. We put forward that criminal contempt motion. She was arraigned on criminal contempt charges. And so once again, she started the process of first saying she was going to represent herself. Then on one of the court dates, October 25th, she threw a number of Hail Marys. She reached out to a human trafficking organization, that assists people with, legally pro bono if they are victims of human trafficking and so forth. She reached out to them. She lied to them about the story and so forth. And by the way, when she's been weaving this narrative, she's also put forward a number of GoFundMe and fundraiser campaigns trying to get assistance as a victim of human trafficking. And when she wrote this little book talking about 40 years a slave, basically that was a way to get some sympathy from people who actually believe her so they can send her money. She's thinking, maybe I can raise $30, $40, $50, $100,000 and so forth. So a number of crowdfunding efforts she's put forward, not only for the fake human trafficking story, but also for the fake Black Town initiative. Now, she reached out to a human trafficking victims organization. They actually sent an attorney to the courthouse on the day of court. That was October 25th. And they have to assess whether or not someone is, telling the truth. So the attorney was initially going to represent her that day in court or speak on her behalf to contribute, something to the legal proceedings. She spoke with the Assistant Attorney General. Of course, she spoke with TL, but then she came to speak to me to get my side of it. And when I began to explain all the various things that have been going on, and this was a Black woman, intelligent sister, and, very insightful, she basically said, we have to assess these cases on a regular basis. And what she was telling me just was not adding up. And she basically shared with me that what I gave to her confirmed what she already was seeing. So they went back in front of the judge and said, this is not a case that we can support. So they left. But this is one of those cases when we talk about, or instances, you have an individual trying to manipulate the system, pathological liar, everything she's saying is inaccurate and she knows that. But she's taking resources away from a real human trafficking victim. These human trafficking organizations or victims organizations, they don't have unlimited resources. They don't have unlimited lawyers. If there was a real human trafficking victim who needed representation that day in court, then she's using up that resource, that particular lawyer that could have been, defending and speaking and advocating for a real victim. And she's utilizing that resource for her own criminal ends, trying to figure out a way to get out of this case so she can start stalking me all over again. And hopefully we can get into that 60-year marriage and start on these, additional 11 kids. So that's insanity. They didn't go for it. So she moved forward with the next Hail Mary. She was representing herself. And then she said, you know what? I want this defense attorney, this public defender to represent me now. He was the one that was going to represent her before. And then she fired him and he was there as, in an advisory capacity. But now all of a sudden, she doesn't want him as an advisor. She wants him to represent her in the case. This was, and she approached the bench. They're going back and forth. And the judge allows it. So that was October 25th. They pushed the court date to November 15th. So I'm back in the courthouse, November 15th, and she decides, I don't want to use this attorney anymore. We knew she was going to do that. We knew she was going to, quote unquote, fire the attorney and so forth. They went ahead and allowed her to do that. They pushed the case back to January 18th. There was another maneuver, and then it was pushed back to February 20th, which was last Tuesday. She's been assigned a new defense attorney. She's also been warned that, this is not going to go on with you doing these, little maneuvers about, I'm going to represent myself. No, I'm not going to. No, I need a new lawyer. No, I'm not. So when that defense attorney determines whether or not he can work with her and he prepares his defense, if he can work with her, then he will work with her and the trial date will be set and he will represent her. If he can't, then she'll be most likely representing herself unless she, acquires an attorney or retains an attorney on her own. But that probably won't be allowed either. So eventually this court date will be set. She will be found guilty, as I said, because she did violate the order. And this time she will be incarcerated for a significant period, not just 10 days, most likely at least up to a year, probably between 9 months and a year, definitely 9 months, but more than likely a year. So this is what's going on. So I just wanted to share this experience. It's been 5.5 years going back and forth, and the final 2.5 years going back and forth within the legal system. Hopefully the information I share can assist other people who are going through the, navigating the legal system, as well as the, anti-stalking order procedures on the civil side, or if they have to move into the criminal contempt phase and they're in the, criminal court side and so forth. When you see red flags with individuals, whether it's relationships or, even work relationships or family, whatever it is, hopefully this information can, assist someone. I appreciate the people who have supported myself. As we said before, I don't share anything personal. It's really nothing personal to share. That's not something I would do anyway. As I said, when we put information out, we put out our books, we do our lectures, we do our broadcasts, we have our events, and the community comes out and they leave empowered and, strengthened, and they go back to their respective locales to empower their community. This is the work that we do. So this is not something that we would normally be, discussing, whatever. We've been at this work for over 20 plus years and we've never had a situation like this. So we appreciate the people who, once they found out about what's actually taking place, they took the time to, verify the information, and we, posted these court orders, these court documents to let people know we have actual receipts. We're not defaming anybody. We're not really disparaging anybody anyway. What we're doing is putting forward accurate information so people can see what's taking place and they can make proper decisions with regard to how they deal with us and this individual who might try to reach out to them. But also just in your everyday life, you have to keep your eyes open. So a friend of mine asked me, does this make you fearful or apprehensive about communicating with certain individuals while you're, in the public? And when we do this kind of work, we are public figures to a certain degree, even though the wider public may be unaware of what we're doing, or they just say, oh, these Afrocentric people, or, these cultures people, or these vegans and so forth. But people who are studying culture, language, philosophy, religious practice, and trustery, history, and, ancestral spirituality and so forth, we are public figures, as well as nation building, what's called Pan-Africanism, nationalism, Black nationalism, and so forth. You are a public figure to a certain extent. So I'm not concerned. I'm cautious, but I'm not concerned. And that's always been the case. I don't fear anybody. I don't fear anything. Of course, not this individual. But you have to be intelligent just in life in general. I'm not apprehensive about communicating with my people. I've never been disrespectful at all in communication with women, or, when I'm going out and speaking and teaching and so forth. So that's never been a problem. I've never had anybody come at me other than these two mentally ill people. We told you about the elderly person who said I was a divine compliment, and, I'm this individual. But outside of the two mentally ill people, for the past 20 plus years, I haven't had anybody try to come at me in a city or online saying, hey, what's up? Because they see the work we're doing, they see our focus, they see our discipline, and they know we come into the space or into the spot ready to work, and that's what we're about. So, but if anybody can take something valuable from this, hopefully this will assist you in navigating in some way through the civil court or criminal court, or just being aware and cautious and focused and, alert in life, then I did my job. And just for those who are unaware, when you go to our site, you'll see the things that we're talking about. If you want to get some real information, we just released our second documentary film on the Hoodoo tradition. That's on the website. Our first documentary film on Best Original Documentary at the Film Festival in New York, Kwanzaa Film Festival. We were out at the Pembroke Taparelli Film Festival in LA, screening the film as well. And we'll be screening, the new Hoodoo film that's only a few months old in different cities, but you can get some information from there and see, the details of some of the things that we were talking about through this. But once again, Yerase, we thank you, and Yebe Shabio, we will meet again. Catch up.